Thank you, Chairman. I don't know if we're running a Republican Senate campaign committee errand here or not, and I'm not
I can
going to
assure you
pursue
we're
it.
not, and we're going to vote on this bill, and if you want to defend China, you're welcome to do so.
No, I actually was interested in some of the other stuff that's going on at the Department of Justice, which we have oversight over while we're here together. The first is that it turns out the Attorney General has fired the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Doesn't seem to be any reason for it. None was stated. It seems to have been pretty rash in that the Department of Justice seemed to have forgotten that Mr. Berman was a judicial appointment, not a Department of Justice or presidential appointment. So when they tried to fire him, they ran into a problem that gave him leverage to impose that his deputy would be his successor and not the Attorney General from New Jersey, which alone is a bizarre circumstance. The U.S. Attorney from New Jersey, nothing against New Jersey, but if you're the sovereign district of New York and suddenly you're told that you're going to be run by the U.S. Attorney from New Jersey as a part-time effort, something bizarre is going on. When you haven't figured out that Mr. Berman is a judicial appointee, something bizarre is going on. When you haven't figured out that this committee still enforces its blue slip on U.S. attorney nominees, so you think you're going to put Jay Taylor in without realizing you have to go through Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand to get there? I mean, this is fire the associate quality preparation. Something weird happened in the Department of Justice to cause knucklehead stumblebum errors like that to be done by the Attorney General of the United States, and I submit we'd be better off spending our time looking into what that was. And here's another one. We had Mr. Delrahim, the head of the Antitrust Division, here for a hearing. We asked questions about a patently preposterous antitrust investigation that he had launched that happened to align extremely well with the political interests of President Trump and of Marathon Petroleum, which was trying to bust up the California fuel efficiency standards. So we got nothing in the way of serious answers at the hearing. So I followed up with QFRs, and as you all know, questions for the record have been, I think as a matter of policy, ignored by the Department of Justice, whether they come from my side or your side. So we got no answers to our QFRs, so we sent a follow-up letter saying, what's up with the QFRs? No answer to that. So I put a hold on a bill that the department wanted, and suddenly I got a little bit of their attention, and I brought it to the chairman's attention, and to his credit, he brought the Deputy Attorney General over to sit down and talk through what the heck is going on with all the questions for the record and all the letters that the Department of Justice isn't answering. I mean, by the dozen. This is a pattern. This is a practice. Well, why would they be avoiding answering questions about this antitrust thing? While we're doing this, they're having a hearing over in House Judiciary right now on what's going on at the Department of Justice. And here's the New York Times reporting from just minutes ago about the whistleblower from the Antitrust Division. His name is Elias. And the report is, Mr. Elias's statement also portrayed an antitrust review, the one we talked about, of a deal struck by 4 major automakers with the state of California to voluntarily continue to improve fuel efficiency and reduce emissions on new cars, despite the Trump administration's rollback of federal standards, as politically motivated rather than grounded in the facts and the law. Mr. Trump had attacked the deal on Twitter, and the division began its review without going through normal procedures, Mr. Elias said. Quote, the day after the tweets, Antitrust Division political leadership, the guys who sat right there and wouldn't answer our questions, instructed staff to initiate an investigation that day, he wrote. Something is very wrong at the Department of Justice, whether it's Mr. Delrahim and his antitrust division that is running political errands for President Trump against America's auto companies, or whether it's U.S. attorneys who are investigating Trump associates being fired without apparent reason in such a cluster mess that they managed to overlook that he was a judicial appointment, managed to overlook that there's a blue slip, managed to lie twice. Either Barr or Berman is lying about whether there was an agreement Berman would resign, and either Barr or Trump is lying about whether Trump ordered the firing. Trump said, I had nothing to do with this, after Barr put it right on Trump's shoulders. So you got two lies floating around out there that haven't been assigned to the individual liar. You got to admit, guys, this is weird. This is not the Department of Justice that America counts on. And my time has expired. I apologize for going over a minute, but you got to admit, this is weird.
Well, if you want to hear weird, we'll tell you about Loretta Lynch and all those other people. So I think there's a lot of weird going on. But the blue slip process will stay in place. There's nobody coming to be the Southern District New York U.S. Attorney that doesn't get blue slip returned. That's been the policy of the committee. That will not change.
We appreciate that, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
well, that's just...
Thank you.
You don't need to thank me. That's just a fair way to do business.